Let's do it.
There we go.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? I'm gonna rename you.
You're gonna rename me?
Yeah.
You're gonna name fucking Chad or Zach?
No, I'm gonna put your name instead of Kyle's iPhone. I'm gonna put Kyle Messersmith.
Hey guys, welcome. This is Zach.
This is Zach Chad.
That's my last name. Chad.
You're Zach Chad. Do you have headphones?
I do believe so. Maybe. There's a slight chance I might not, but there should be a good chance that I do. Hold on. Oh, fuck. Just making this as difficult as you can.
Yeah.
Let me check my room real quick. Oh, by the way, Zoom is something you get, sir.
Well, like it's a website. Like you don't actually have to have an account.
No, but I had to get the app.
Yeah, you're right. On a phone, yes, you do have to get the app.
So, point to Kyle.
So I think the best part of this interview is that this is your first ever Zoom call. And that we are in September of 2020, and this is the first time you've ever used Zoom.
Yeah, no, it makes it a lot better.
Yeah. It's kind of impressive, actually.
Why do you say that?
Because that's like what everybody has been using.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it makes logical sense considering your job and the fact that you're not in school. So, like, it makes perfect sense. But just the fact that you've never used it made me laugh.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does make perfect sense to somebody who knows me. But to an outsider, it's like, what?
It's like,
You've never used Zoom? Have you never used Zoom?
Have you never used this thing that everybody is now forced to use?
All right. So what exactly is this going to entail?
I'm just going to ask you some very basic questions, get your opinion on a few things. Pretty straightforward stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to go sit down in your room just so the camera's not moving all over the place the whole time.
So they what now?
I said so the camera isn't moving all over the place the whole time?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I'm bringing my vodka.
That's fine, you can do that.
Should I wear a mask?
You don't have to wear a mask.
You sure, bro? I don't want to get you sick.
That's Zoom actually has a air filtration, so that air that goes into your mic that comes out of my ears is already filtered.
No shit.
That's why they're so successful.
All right. Well. Oh, fuck. Vodka. All right.
So everybody, next up we have my buddy Kyle. Kyle and I were friends in high school and have been slowly reconnecting during the current events. I consider Kyle my conventionally attractive friend. Long hair, a little bit of scruff under the chin, definitely vapes. The point is, he gets more pussy than me. That's the point of having him on is we're going to hear about his experiences with texting, probably more in the realm of texting women, to figure out if I'm doing anything wrong or maybe I'm just ugly.
Or the lack thereof.
Yes. So first question, because the topic is texting, and texting is a form of communication. So very simply, how often do you text? And then consider any type of messaging.
I mean, like every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes? All right.
Basically.
Yeah, fair answer. Because you're 22 or 23?
23.
23. That's a pretty fair answer from anybody in their 20s.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty frequent thing, to be honest.
Do you like texting?
To be honest, I really don't have a choice but to like it. Nobody really likes to do anything else, so you kind of just have to adapt.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I love it just because it kind of gives people the opportunity to choose whether or not they hear you or not. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Versus like a conversation, like somebody somebody hears you in person, but if you send a text, like they could look at it, ignore you, and then go on about their day, and you could think that they never even saw it.
Right. So that's something that's come up a lot, is the idea of, if you do not respond to a text, is it ignoring someone the same as you would ignore them in person, or should it be treated as something completely different?
Definitely should be treated completely different, because like ignoring somebody in person is like more of like a blatant show, like a sign of disrespect, really. I mean, it just shows that you don't value what somebody has to say, so you choose to ignore them. But at the same time, like, it's like you can hide that over text, and I don't like that, because it kind of adds like a fake aspect to communication and interaction.
So if someone is blatantly ignoring your text, would you consider that just as bad as in person? Worse?
I would consider it the same.
Okay.
But the only problem is that, like, if they blatantly ignore you over text, you don't necessarily know that unless they have read receipts on.
Have you ever turned your read receipts on just to intentionally leave people on read?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. Somebody who's not getting the message, like, punny, get it?
Right,
They're not
right.
getting the message.
Yes.
Yes. No, it's I do it. So I'll leave them on for like the first 2 or 3 texts that somebody sends me. If I don't reply, then I will turn them on and then let them know, like, yes, I have been blatantly ignoring you. Stop talking to me.
Have you ever thought about just texting them back to not talk to you?
You could, but people don't listen.
Right.
People, like, they're like, trust me, especially with the fact that, like, you know, with me being into like TikTok and stuff like that, like, these girls get crazy. So like you could be like, please stop talking to me. Just blatant, clear, direct, concise, and they will literally, like, they will hound you for an answer why. And it's like, I shouldn't have to give you an answer why. I mean, I will, but I shouldn't have to. If I don't want you to talk to me, then that's all you should need, is just don't talk to me.
Please make sure to follow Kyle on TikTok. I'm going to put it right there. There'll be a link in the description.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So do you think texting should be used for short bits of information, or do you think they can be used for long form conversation?
I actually have a broad answer for that.
Go ahead.
So I think it is circumstantial. I think when it comes to planning things, like if you're making plans with somebody, I do not think you should use it because it's best to try to figure out a plan, get it set and settled on the spot right there. You know, maybe you might have a couple of details that you might have to figure out later, but it's a lot better to get it all out in the open so that everybody knows what to plan for. Now, what I will say, yes, I do. Like, so say you have a serious conversation. Example A girlfriend or boyfriend. I do think it can be beneficial when it comes to like an argument with them, because yes, it's good to have an argument in person so you can hear tones and voice inflections. But at the same time, nowadays, a lot of people have a really hard time with communication and, speaking logically rather than from just straight emotion, and being able to bounce each other off of each other and use your emotion for logical responses versus just outwardly bursting out with something like, say you want to break up, don't just get mad and yell that. Texting gives you the opportunity to be able to calm yourself, reread the text multiple times, and be able to answer something with a very tactful response. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's, there are benefits to texting when it comes to, what people outside of millennials would say, like older folks, they say it's pointless, just have the conversation in person. There are benefits. You get to think clearly about your response. Some people just can't think that quickly.
Okay. A lot of people have talked about thinking quickly versus having the time to formulate a response. So do you prefer texting because it gives you more time to think of what you're going to say?
Depends on how mad I am.
Well, even in normal conversation.
Okay, so normal conversation, no, because a lot of times if I'm going to talk about something, either I'm going to stay quiet and listen, or I will have already formulated an opinion while you're speaking based off what you're saying. Like I don't have an issue with that. Some people do though.
So I like to be in person because I think a lot of my appeal comes from how quickly I can respond.
Yeah,
And over text, I think I lose all that advantage.
Yeah, and that's a real thing when it comes to, if you're trying to pick up a girl or if you're trying to, flirt or whatever. A lot of girls like that you can come up with something quick and witty, but also intellectual faster than most.
Yeah.
That adds a confidence appeal to it.
Yeah, I've also found that guys are a lot more confident and bold over texting, and girls too, but I compete with guys. Where I'm confident enough to do it in person.
I don't compete, I just win.
But I'm confident. I think you're the same way. We're both confident enough to do it in person. So now I feel that I'm having to worry about these people who are now can text these girls. Yep. And now I don't have an advantage being confident enough to do it in person.
Well, the thing is, you think about it, honestly, you could say a girl says some specific thing, you know what I'm saying? And it's like it could be a pretty common thing to say, but not like what's up or hey. I don't really have like a direct example right now, but say they say something and you don't really quite know what to say, but you want to be witty. You could fucking Google it and text whatever you read,
right, and
come off as witty, rather than somebody that knows that already or formulates a witty response and can say it on the spot in person.
Right,
and that's people like us. Whereas there are people that don't have that confidence or the intellect, and it kind of takes away your advantage.
Yeah, I will say though, one thing I do, I will never ask someone over text what something means or like a background on something. I always just look it up and then move on with the conversation.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
And at first I was like, I feel like I'm being intellectually dishonest, but then I think it makes for an easier conversation because I'll say something and someone will ask me what it is. And I go, that was a 2-second Google. You should just do that.
Yep, seriously. I mean, yes, you could consider it intellectually dishonest, but at the same time, there's a flip side to that coin because you're not really being, I mean, you are, but you're also causing yourself to learn something.
Yeah.
So then you're just becoming more intellectual.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Would it be fully intellectually dishonest or more of like a pressured situation to force yourself to learn?
I think it's how much you ham up the fact that you already knew it.
Yeah,
I've definitely played the card of like, yes, I know all about neuroscience. That's your major? Great. I already have 10 jokes based on the brain. So I'll go on to the next question here. Do you feel that you act differently over text?
That's kind of hard because I actually make an attempt not to.
Okay.
So, because it is something I do focus on, because I do understand that can happen. I try not to, but at the same time, I do try to act a little bit differently, a little bit more confident over texting because I want to compensate for the fact that I can't show it over text. Does that make sense?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you want to really drive home the point of the qualities you present.
Yeah, because I know damn well for sure in person I can display those. So like, I try to compensate for what they're not going to be able to see on text so that when they do meet me in person, my personality kind of like backs that. See, they're going to be like, I could see why he would be like that.
I got to say, I was worried about a lot of these interviews where I come across as arrogant and douchey, but I'm really glad you're here to now I'm the reasonable one.
Yeah, right. No, I know I come off douchey. That's okay.
It's fine. That's
I
actually
used
what
to
you're
be a douchebag.
here. That's what you're here to represent.
I used to be a douchebag, but now I'm kind of battling that and just working on being confident.
Kyle, recovered douchebag, still functional alcoholic.
You know, only work on one problem at a time.
I completely agree. Now, do you ever stop and think about how different, whether you act for texting or how other people act with texting versus in person? Like, do you ever just really stop and think as you're reading things?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, it has to be somebody you know, because a lot of girls I talk to, there's a lot of girls that are out of state. There's a lot of girls, you know, that I don't personally know, that I only know them from texting. So, you know, you have to kind of view their content and the way they post things versus the way they talk, and you can tell if they're trying to be overly confident or try to act different or weird things like that. But like when it comes to somebody that I know, honestly, a lot of people that I know, especially you, there's a lot of people I know that they're exactly the same way. Like the way they talk to me over text, they know that I know them and they know me, so we can be ourselves over text. And you know, the things they say and the way they word things and their, you know, casual vernacular actually helps kind of support the fact that they're not really changing over text.
So you bring up a good point though, because that's something that is new. We have a lot of people, especially like, you know, women we're potentially pursuing, that we have never met.
Yeah.
And it's not a small number, you know, between Tinder, other social media, or even friends of friends. Maybe you met them once even.
Yeah, and that's
where,
even, you can't read them off that even.
Yeah, where now the majority of the conversation, if not all of it, takes place over text. Do you feel that you are better over text, or are you ready to just get it in person?
I don't feel. I'm just kidding. So do I feel that I would rather get it over text or like in person?
Yeah, like do you feel like, oh, I want to talk to this girl for weeks over text so that when we meet in person, I've established it? Or are you saying I want to meet them so they can now know how my texts are supposed to be perceived?
Actually, yeah, when I think about that, I don't even consider the fact of like, you know, how they perceive my texts. You know, there's a more important thing that I think should be considered when it comes to would you rather the majority be in person or over text? You know, the thing is that how many people, and you probably experienced this, even though, yes, you and I are both good at starting conversations, so it's not, you know, a typical thing for us to not be able to keep the conversation rolling. But, you know, yeah, I'm sure people that are watching this are going to be able to relate to the fact that like when you text somebody a lot for like weeks, say weeks, you know, and you get to know them, you know, all that stuff, and then you finally hang out for the first time. What questions do you really have to ask?
Yeah, that's good. That's good
what kind of conversation do you really have to make? You've already covered that basis over texting, over just reading. You know, like it just makes for, you know, it sets you up for awkward moments. So like I try to keep it as casual as possible when I text. You know, maybe they, you know, depending on if they have something, you know, serious going on, if they have problems they need to talk about. But like when it comes to getting to know them, the most I will do, the least that I will do is FaceTime. Other than that, it has to be in person.
So I'm a big fan of FaceTime, actually, to the point that I started, I don't want to say requiring, but like I started insisting with these people I would meet, especially like Tinder and whatnot. Like I said, hey, I would like to FaceTime here soon. Yeah. Like I want to know how you talk. I want you to know how I talk, because I think I run into an issue where just the way I speak, and maybe this is both in text and in person, but especially over text, that comes off as like negative and mean.
Yeah, but they don't hear the voice.
Yeah. I think because there's definitely an inherent like cheekiness when I say it in person. Like there's that like kind of smile you say it with.
Yeah, like, oh, he's just kind of being a funny dick.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, which is actually, ironically enough, is very popular in person. Yeah. But I definitely, over text, I sit there and I'm like, why did they stop, or why did their tone change? And the few that I've been able to talk to about it, they're like, oh, well, you kept making jokes about this, or you kept saying things like that. And, and again, maybe I should just be more sensitive of a person, but I kind of think back and I'm like, oh, they don't get I'm joking, or they don't, they take
You've
this
always
really
even had an
serious.
issue with that though too. You always had an issue with that in high school.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
You
that
had
was
an
all in
issue with
person.
like people couldn't. It's because they're too sensitive. It's the fucking millennial shit.
Right.
Like you and I grew up a little bit different. We grew up with not being told that, oh, this should trigger you. This is not okay. No, like I grew up with my stepdad telling me to shut my fucking cocksucker. So like you don't grow up around that and be sensitive to somebody commenting on your Tourette's, me, or commenting that little dickish cocky little remark that's comes off arrogant, but they're just trying to goof with you. Like it's just
right.
And people don't have that.
Right. So I agree. It's everyone else, and I shouldn't change it all. That was the main takeaway I got from that.
I'm glad, because that's what I was expanding on.
Great. Well, that also just comes back. This is away from texting, just conversation in general. I always grew up, and like the friend group I had from a very young age, and just how my household was, like if people weren't joking with you and like messing with you, they didn't like you.
Yeah.
So if you actually did that with someone, that meant that was an extension that you thought they were your friend.
Exactly.
So I think still to this day, my default is to tease people a little bit. And I think there is that issue where over texting, especially when you don't know me at all, you can definitely hit a lot of nerves.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's a quick little side note on that. Nick Legeri, you know him, one of my good friends. He thought from the beginning of 6th grade to the end of 7th grade that I was bullying him, and I was really like, him and I talk about it now, and like he's like, yeah, bro, I thought you were like picking on me and like fucking with me. And I was like, no, dude, like I genuinely saw you as one of my good friends. He's like, you just said fucked up shit to me all the time. I was like, it's because I like fucking with you because you're my homie. Like,
right.
That's what do you?
I think part of the issue is I think that's a very male thing.
Yeah.
I think guys do that. So I think something I should know better by now, and I still do that with women a lot, is I'll like tease them. And I think I have to remember that it's definitely more of a thing guys do to guys.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's becoming a little bit more commonplace for girls to do it. I got girls that'll do it to me pretty often now, but it definitely took time. And it even still takes time to get into knowing them, talking to them for a week before they start giving you those, little lashes back at you,
Right. Yeah, like I want those. I want something to come back at me.
That makes that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that makes it so much better.
Yeah, I completely agree. And maybe that's just a preference thing. Maybe we're both wrong. Maybe we're the weirdos in this situation.
Well, I'm not known for wanting to admit I'm right, so.
Yeah, right. Well, that's part of the
to admit I'm wrong. Sorry.
I think the fact that you were wrong about this phrase, I don't like admitting when I'm wrong. There's a lot of comedy right there.
Kind of ironic, right?
So one thing about this exploration that I wanted to do was kind of help figure out, what things are just me personally, or what things are other people experiencing. And I hope that's talked about a lot, like in the comments, if there's other guys or girls out there that are experiencing similar things, that now someone is actually talking about it. Because I don't really think enough people talk about texting. Or the fact that it's different, or things are going to come across different. I think people are just more reactionary.
I will give one base piece of advice to people on texting. Okay, now this is a huge thing, and let me make sure I word it right. Things to talk about and things not to talk about when you're texting. Casual conversation. Okay. Now, when you're upset about something, make sure you never respond before you've thought about it for at least 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah. Don't immediately respond if you're mad. Leave that alone. Utilize the fact that you have the time to respond, to sit and think versus what you would have in person. You know what I'm saying? Utilize that time to think about what you say before you say it. Because a lot of times in person, you don't really have that time because it's, you know, angry conversations are rushed. They always are and always will be. You know, just utilize your time if you decide to speak on something serious and think about it. That's what you have to do. That's what I have to offer.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That actually brings me up a point that I was thinking about. When you text somebody, there's a lot higher chance that they are not in a good mood from what I've found. So, you know, say you normally spend time with somebody where the baseline is usually pretty positive. You know, you're going out with friends. The energy is already positive. Where if I'm texting someone at a random time, there's a lot of extra things they could be dealing with that now I'm going to hit that I wouldn't normally hit when we're out.
Yep.
So I think that's can be an issue, or even for yourself. Like, you know, I'm not in the best headspace when I'm texting a lot of times. And maybe I need to watch when I'm texting people. I need to make sure I'm in a good headspace and I'm not saying anything I shouldn't, or something I'll look back later on and think, that really was out of character for me, or something I you know, think should, you know, don't want to be in my character.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Also, there's a lot of truth that you know, falls into the sad hours. Don't ever bring up something serious late at night.
Oh, sad hours. I'm not aware of that. Please enlighten me.
A lot of times people get really sad at night. They get depressed at night right before they go to bed.
That makes sense.
You know? I mean, it's a real thing. It's a psychological thing. You know, that's like when you're like, your mind is exhausted, you know, you're like, it takes a little bit of effort to be positive. Everybody knows that. The easy road is always going to be sad and focus on the bad stuff. Once you've been through a full day, you know, regardless of what you've been through, your mind is exhausted. So it easily starts to focus on the negative things right before you go to bed, you know, or you get horny, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I always get horny at night for some reason.
Yes.
As
it's
opposed
either
to
sad or horny.
As opposed to the morning when I'm also horny. And then that midday
when
horny.
You're also horny.
Yeah, and definitely that before dinner horny.
Oh, that before dinner horny just hits different.
Yeah, because you're also hungry at the same time. Then you become horngry, and no one's ready for that. No one's ready for that emotion.
Nope, because, you know, we all know what you want to eat. No, like, seriously though, don't ever bring up, like, the best time to bring up a serious conversation is, like, make sure they're not doing anything, you know, time consuming or something that's going to keep them busy during the day, but do it midday. Talk about serious things midday, and that's going to be your best time to be able to have a logical conversation on a conflicting issue that you might have. But don't ever bring it up at night, because that person could be really, like, going through a depressed whatever the fuck, and it can kind of, like, push them into anger easier. You see what I'm saying? They can, you know,
that's a good point. I never thought of that.
It's a really it as far as I've been testing that theory, it's done nothing but held true and helped me, and that's it.
Okay.
So that's a huge thing, you know.
Avoid sad hours.
Yeah, avoid sad
Kyle
hours.
Messersmith 2020.
Yeah. Avoid serious issues during sad hours. Let's redefine that.
Yes, avoid serious issues during sad hours. Kyle Messersmith 2020.
It helps, man.
You know what? We've gone over all the questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? Closing statements.
Yeah. This one is for the girls.
For the ladies.
This one's for the girls.
For the girls, ladies, don't listen.
Yeah. For the I'm just kidding. For the females, let's specify. Okay, yeah, for the females.
If you have an X and an X chromosome, tune in.
Stop leaving us on red. And if you don't want to talk, just explicitly say it. Please inform me.
What happens when a girl would say, "Well, guys don't listen," and they'll just keep going?
Then you unadd them or block them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's plain and simple. It's really easy to do.
Well, after that full circle point, Kyle, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate the insights.
Of course.
And have a good night.
Appreciate you, man. You too.